welcome everyone to this session where, as Pradeep mentioned, we're going to show you a couple of products that can help you with displaying supporting information within Sage 300 and hopefully reducing your reliance on paper-based documentation. So we're going to be covering today who Orchid Systems is, the developer of these products, and then we're going to talk about the document management link solution as well as the notes solution. I'm going to quickly go through a couple of PowerPoint slides and then we're going to jump right into the product and show you the product so you can understand how it would work for you. So Orchid Systems, most of you may be aware of Orchid Systems. They've been developing add-on products for Sage 300 for over 25 years. And most clients have at least one module of the Orchid Systems. So they're currently in over 6,000 Sage sites and in 80 countries, and they are based out of Australia. So the first product we're going to talk about today is the document management link solution that gives you the ability to view documents from within Sage 300. The nice part about this product is you are not storing documents in your Sage database. They are stored outside of Sage 300. And we're giving you the ability to view those documents and open up those documents while you're inside Sage 300. So it seamlessly integrates into Sage 300 and should help you to reduce the number of paper that you need to be passing around or viewing within your organization. The second product that we're going to highlight in this session is the Notes product. And with the Notes product, it gives you the ability to store and view notes throughout Sage 300. So both of these products work against every screen in every module of Sage 300, as well as third-party modules that sit inside your Sage environment. So we'll talk about the main features of the Notes product as well. So with that, we'll leave PowerPoint and go straight into the solution. So the document management link and notes both install into Sage 300 under a product that we call Information Manager. There are a number of components to this module, but you can purchase each component separately. So first, let's have a look at the document management link solution. We're not changing anything about the way you would be doing your transactions in Sage 300. And I'm going to start today with accounts payable because that seems to be a popular place where people want to be able to view supporting documents. So you notice when I open the Sage screen, there's an additional window that sits beside the Sage screen. So this is the document management link and notes box where you can view documents as well as your notes. Now, a few things here you'll notice if you're using color coding and you have multiple companies, the document management link window will mirror the color coding. And when I move this screen, you'll notice the document management link window moves with it. You can pin the document management link window to your Sage screen. And by doing this, it allows you to easily keep track of the documents and notes you're viewing against a particular screen. If you minimize the screen, the document management link window will minimize with it so that you can keep track of the documents you're viewing against any particular screen. Now, how we're linking the documents and notes, we're doing that at the field level. So in the first instance here, you see it says vendor number. So I'm linking to the vendor number field on the screen. And then based on the value in that field, it knows which documents to be looking at. So I am storing my documents in my network folders. So on my C drive, I have a folder that I named Orchid, and then a document folder. And then I have different subfolders for the different types of documents that I'm storing. Now, this folder hierarchy would be completely up to you and dependent on where you want to store and how you want to view your documents. But for this instance, we're looking at my AP documents, and I have folders set up for my vendors. So if I open up the vendor 1200 folder, you'll see that's what I'm viewing in the document management link window. So this product is linking to the folder that you're storing documents in and then displaying the contents of that folder. Now you notice here I've only got two folders, my vendor 1200 and vendor 1350. If I move to another entry, and you'll see the vendor number changes to vendor 1400, the window dynamically updates automatically for you. And you can see here it's now looking for documents related to my vendor 1400, but I didn't have any yet. Once you get your folder structure in place, it can build out for you automatically. So in this instance, I want to store a document against my vendor 1400. When I hover over the document management link window, you'll see this add button will appear, and that'll take me out into my environment where I can pick any document and drag it into the document management link window. And what's happened in this case is it created a folder for my vendor 1400 and then stored that document in that folder. You notice it came from my suspense folder. So if we go back now to my AP documents, you notice it's now added the folder for vendor 1400 and stored that document in that folder. So as I said, it will build out for you automatically. Now, the other thing that you can do, you notice this second window, I've got vendor number / document number. You can link up to two fields. And so what's going to happen in this window is the document will still be stored under the vendor, but I can filter what I'm seeing in this window based on the document number. I don't want to have a folder for every single AP invoice, so I want to store them all under the appropriate vendor, but I want to easily be able to see the backup related to this particular entry. So in this window, it'll filter that vendor folder and only show me the documents related to this entry. So that's based on this document number field. When I go to add a document here, I'm dragging it out of my suspense and over the document management link. But you notice in this case, it took this document that was called invoice and it renamed that document. That's an optional configuration where I specified when I drag a document into this window, I want to rename that document based on the value in the document number field. So that's how it knew how to rename the document. You can drag in as many documents as you like. I've already got an Excel document that's been renamed. If I drag another Excel document, the system's going to recognize that there's already a document with that document number as the name. So do I want to overwrite? Did you drag the wrong document in and you want to change what's there? Or are you doing it on a different date and you want to add a date parameter? Or you can just start to add -1, -2, and so on. So there's no limit to the number of documents that you can drag into this window. You can also store Outlook messages. So if we go, let's just go down here. Sorry, let's go down to here. I've got this email right here. So you can see here there's an attachment on this message. I can drag just the attachment and store it in document management link so it's gone from Outlook and it's now stored in this vendor folder. Or I could pick up the entire message and drag that in and it'll store it as a message file. So you can easily attach either just backup documents or the message itself through the document management link window. So you can configure as many screens here, as many fields, as you want. In this case, I've also got a link to my purchase order number, and that's based on this field here. Now, what I would have done in this instance is I would have attached the documents to the purchase order itself, but I configured document management link in a way that I've specified for the purchase order. When I attach backup to that purchase order, I want to also see it in accounts payable. So I'm linking and storing that document once, but I can view it against multiple screens if I choose to. And then down at the bottom, you see here I've got a link to my GL account, and that's linking to this GL account field here. So it's just an illustration to show that you can link to all fields on a screen, including the entry grid fields. So your only limitation is we can't link to a little checkbox, or on some screens you have a drop-down list. We can't link to that either. But any other open field on every screen in Sage 300 and any third-party product that's inside your Sage environment. Now you may have noticed I skipped over the green box. That is the Notes product. So with Notes, it works similar to Document Management Link in that you can store a note against any field on any screen in any module of Sage 300. And you notice it's bright green. You can color code the notes, so users can easily identify simply based on the color of the note whether it's something they should be taking care of. In this case, it's a green note for shipping. You might have pink notes for admin and that sort of thing. So you can have this color code system, but you can also determine who has access to a particular note, whether they can just view that note or if they can edit it. In this case, you can see here I can edit this note. So you have a lot of control around who has access to the notes, whether or not they can just read them or make changes or delete them. So that's all part of the configuration of notes. So as I mentioned, I won't go too far into setup, but just to give you an idea, it's a very straightforward product for you to install and get working. The one main setup screen here is this document management link and notes screen. So if we look at, let's look at the vendor document number as an example. So you can see here I'm linking to a network folder. As I showed you on my C drive, I just have a network folder. And then you specify the field that you want to link documents to. So in my first case, the vendor number. And then in the case where I was filtering by the document number, I added in my second field value for the document number. And then you're going to put in a path to where you're storing those documents. So mine was on my documents, AP documents. And then if you drive Orchid, you remember when I stored that document for the vendor 1400, it created a folder. And that's because in the file path, I put this bracket value. That's how it knew to use the vendor number when it's creating a new folder. And in the case where I renamed the file, I specified to use value 2, which in this case was the document number. And that's how it knew how to rename that file. Now, as I mentioned, I'm using just network folders. You could choose to store documents in SharePoint, Google Drive, OneDrive, or Dropbox. So any of those repositories is fine. We can configure Document Management Link to display those documents. As far as the notes go, as I mentioned, you can color code the notes based on category. And then you can choose different note types. So I've got admin notes, I've got notes for accounts payable, accounts receivable, and so on. So you can have as many different types of notes. And then for each of those types, you assign the roles. So you basically are grouping them. So you're saying anybody in the admin department for all these different note types, you can specify whether they can add a note, view a note, edit a note, or delete a note. So you create like this admin group, and then you assign users to a group. Now this isn't, this would be people's names in here, where you would assign them to the admin group or the AP group and so on. So you have a lot of control around who can view those notes throughout the system. So just a few other examples. I mentioned the purchase order module. And so if we come to the purchase order entry screen, I want to show you a little bit of a fancy configuration that I did. You notice down here we have a box named requisition, but there's no requisition number stored on the purchase order entry screen, but I still wanted to be able to see the backup related to my requisition. So what I did in this instance was I've linked this reference field, and this is where I'm going to store the requisition number. So you'll notice as I start to type, the box dynamically updates, and you see there's the RE, and as I add the Q, you'll see the Q there. So it's a way that I can store documents against a screen that doesn't natively hold the information that I want to link documents to. So you can get a bit creative with your configuration. And as I did in this case, I'm storing something in the reference field, and I'm able to then link documents to it. Similarly, I've done something similar up in the GL. So up under the general ledger, what I've done is I'm storing information against a GL journal entry. And I want to just find one here. Here's one from a AP. So here's the document management link working against the GL journal entry screen. And I have some regular type configuration here where I've configured around the GL account number. So that's this GL account number here. I could store around the batch. So if you wanted to store documents at the batch level, you could do that. So you would just create the batch number, and then you could link documents to it. So if you just wanted to store documents at a high level for the batch, you could do that. Or you could do a configuration like I did in AP, where I did vendor number and document number. Against GL journals, you could do batch number and entry number. So you would have one box for the entire batch, as I have here, and then you could have another window with batch/entry and isolate the documents for this particular entry number. But what I did here was I passed the vendor information into the reference field, and that's this vendor number field here. So again, I've gotten a bit creative in terms of wanting to be able to see documents against the GL journal entry. And then in the description, I'm storing the PO number so I can also see back up to the purchase order. So just a bit of a creative way. Of course, I have the drill down to the source entry. So if I just drill down from the GL journal entry, that'll take me back to the AP invoice entry where I'd be able to see the documents there. But in this case, I wanted to actually see those documents against the GL journal entry and not have to drill down. So I would venture to say that the majority of the implementation for a product like this is really just sitting down and determining where you want to be viewing documents and how you want to be storing them. And then from there, you can get creative with your configuration to be able to see documents as you'd like to see them. So with that, I am going to open it up to questions. I wanted to leave about 5 minutes for questions. So I will open it up to questions. As Pradeep mentioned, if you want to put any questions or thoughts or comments in the chat box in your GoToMeeting webinar panel, I'm going to open up that chat box and have a look to see if there's questions there. So I am seeing one here. Can I use document management link with SharePoint? Yes, very good question. Let me go down to the configuration here and just show you. I showed you the configuration around a network folder. But what you can do is link documents via SharePoint as well. So let's just open up the details here. Up here, you'll see there's a choice for SharePoint. Now, there's additional configuration related to SharePoint because they have what's called tags in SharePoint. And what you have to do is link a SharePoint tag to a field in Sage 300 so it knows which information to display. But you definitely can store documents in SharePoint. And then you would just do a configuration as well to that SharePoint site so that we can link up to the SharePoint site. So absolutely, you can use SharePoint. Do I need a bigger Sage database if you get document management link? No. The documents are being stored outside of Sage 300. So we're just providing a link and able to display those documents from where they're stored. So we're not adding anything to your Sage database. So we're not going to be affecting your database size at all. And does document management link only work with Sage modules? No, it actually will work with other third-party modules that you see inside your Sage environment. So for example, I have Orchid EFT processing running here. I could go to the setup screen, open the vendor screen. It's telling me I don't have a primary bank set up, but if I can add in vendor 1200, there you can see the document management link showing here. And there's the documents that I have stored for my vendor 1200. And actually, I don't know if you noticed, when I opened up the Finder, the document management link window will also work against the finders. So in this case, I was able to see the vendor number documents against that finder, which actually comes out quite nice in terms of price lists, for example. If you want to look at a price list in order entry, you could link documents to each price list and then open up the finder on the order entry screen, and it'll show you, pardon me, all of the price lists. And you could then open up any of those documents to view the price list to make sure you have the right one, just as another example. And let's see here. So one document can be linked to an AP field for viewing an AP and against the GL account for when viewing in the GL. Yes, absolutely. So what you're doing is you would link a document once and it gets stored in the folder, and then you can link to other fields using the same folder path. And so it'll just go and read that same folder regardless of how many fields you link it to. So it's great that you can just store the documents once and then view them against multiple screens. So I don't think I see any other questions here in the question box. So I think with that, I will turn it back to Pradeep unless there's anything else.
Please, everyone, question more.
Will this work with Beanworks Quadrant? No, this will only work inside Sage 300, and the Beanworks product actually resides outside of Sage 300. So once you post an entry from Beanworks into Sage 300, then yes, you can view the documents in Sage 300. You'd have to link them once it's been posted over to Sage, but it won't work on an external module like Beanworks.